The night market was alive with shadows. Fires burned low in iron bowls, sending smoke into the alien sky. Merchants shouted in strange tongues, trading creatures, weapons, and secrets. But in the center of the market, under the watch of armed guards, stood the cages. Iron cages, filled with slaves from 100 worlds. One cage held a girl. She was small, thin, her skin pale blue, and her silver eyes filled with fear. Chains locked her wrists and ankles, cutting into her flesh. The auctioneer called her rare, dangerous, and valuable. The crowd pushed forward, greedy eyes shining in the firelight. The girl kept her head down. She had learned long ago that looking into the eyes of slavers only brought pain. Her voice was silent, her hope gone. But inside her chest, her heart beat fast. Because tonight felt different. Something was coming. She could feel it. Then he arrived, a man unlike the others. He walked with steady steps through the crowd, his face hidden under a dark hood, his eyes sharp, watching everything. He was human, and in this part of the galaxy, humans were rare. Whispers spread through the crowd. Why was a human here, and why did he walk toward the cages? The auctioneer shouted the girl's description. The last of her kind, he boasted, a survivor of a dead race. The crowd cheered, some shouted bids, credits flashing in the air. The girl closed her eyes, waiting for another master, another chain, another life of pain. But then the human raised his hand. His voice was calm. "I'll take her," he said. The crowd laughed, thinking him foolish. But the human showed a credit chip. More than enough. Silence fell. The auctioneer grinned, eager for profit, and slammed the hammer down. Sold to the human. The guards pulled the girl from the cage, dragging her forward. She stumbled, weak from hunger. The human reached out, steadying her with a strong hand. His touch was gentle, strange to her. He whispered low, only she could hear, "You're safe now." Her silver eyes widened, not believing, not trusting. Safe was a word that had no meaning in her life. And yet, his voice carried something she had not heard in years: honesty. The crowd muttered, some angry they had lost the chance to own her. One slaver leaned close to the human and hissed, "She'll bring you nothing but trouble." The human did not reply. He only tightened his grip on the girl's arm, guiding her through the market. Eyes followed them. Hatred, greed, and fear mixed together. Every step felt dangerous. The girl wanted to run, but her body was too weak. She wondered if she had only traded one master for another. They reached the edge of the market. Guards whispered to each other, as if deciding whether to attack. The human's hand dropped to the blaster at his side. His movements were calm, but ready. The guard stepped back, choosing not to fight. The human led the girl into the dark streets beyond, the fires of the market fading behind them. The night was cold. The city smelled of smoke, rust, and old blood. The girl struggled to walk, her chains slowing her down. At last she spoke, her voice hoarse and dry. Why save me?" The human did not answer at once. He looked down at her with eyes she could not read. Finally he said, "Because no one else would." She stared at him, confused. That answer made no sense. In her world, no one saved anyone without wanting something in return. What did this human want from her? They reached a landing bay. His ship waited in the shadows. A small vessel, scarred by many battles, but strong. The human opened the hatch and guided her inside. The girl hesitated at the door. Freedom was strange. Freedom was dangerous. But something inside her told her to step forward. She entered, chains rattling with every step. The ship hummed as it powered up. Engines roared, lifting them from the city. The girl looked out of the window. The market shrank behind them. For the first time in years, she was leaving her cage. Her heart beat faster, but fear remained. She turned to the human and whispered again, "Who are you?" The human sat at the controls, his face still half in shadow. He looked at her with calm eyes. "My name does not matter. What matters is this: you're free now." Free. The word echoed in her mind. It was heavy, strange, almost frightening. She touched the cold chains on her wrists and whispered, "No, not free, not yet. The human nodded, as if he understood, and the ship carried them into the endless stars, where freedom, danger, and destiny waited. The ship cut through the night sky. Engines growled like thunder, carrying them away from the slaver city. Inside, the alien girl sat in silence, her chains still heavy on her arms. The human moved around the cockpit, checking screens, pressing switches, calm but alert. He said nothing for a long time, and the silence was louder than noise. The girl's heart raced. Her silver eyes shifted between the door and the man. She thought about running, though she had nowhere to go, but her body was too weak, her chains too tight, and her spirit too broken. Still, her mind whispered, escape, always escape. The human finally spoke, his voice low. You're safe here, but not for long. They'll come after us. The girl frowned, confusion in her gaze. Why not leave me? Easier for you. The human looked at her, and for a moment, his eyes softened. Because I don't leave people in chains, he said. His words were strange. She had never heard such things before. Kindness was not a language she knew. The ship suddenly shook. Warning lights flashed across the control panel. The human cursed under his breath. They've already found us, he muttered. Through the window, small hunter ships appeared, rising from the city below. Slaver patrols, hungry for revenge. They spread out like wolves, engines glowing, weapons armed. The girl gripped the chair, fear rising in her chest. Will they take me back? She whispered. The human glanced at her, his voice steady. Not while I'm breathing. He pulled the controls. The ship spun hard, diving through the clouds. Lasers cut across the sky, flashes of red fire. The sound of battle thundered in the night. The human fired back, cannons roaring. One hunter ship exploded, flames lighting the darkness. But two more chased them, faster, sharper, relentless. The girl trembled, every sound echoing in her bones. She had known pain, hunger, chains, but never freedom. And now freedom came wrapped in fire and death. The ship shook again, a blast hitting near the wing. Alarm screamed. The human worked quickly, pressing buttons, rerouting power. The girl looked at him, shocked by his calm. Are you not afraid? She asked. He gave a small smile. Always afraid, but fear keeps me sharp. His words confused her, but also lit a spark in her heart. Perhaps fear was not only weakness. Perhaps fear could guide strength. The human shouted, Hold on. He pushed the ship into a steep dive. The stars vanished. The planet's surface rushed toward them. The hunters followed, weapons blazing. The girl closed her eyes, waiting for death. But the human pulled the ship up at the last second. They skimmed over the dark surface of the wasteland below. Rocks, ruins, and broken towers blurred past. The hunters struggled to follow, crashing against the cliffs. The human used the terrain like a shield, each twist and turn leaving their enemies farther behind. Finally, the sky grew quiet. The radar showed no pursuers. The human leaned back, breathing hard. We bought some time, he said. The girl opened her eyes slowly. She was alive, still chained, but alive. Her heart pounded like a drum. She stared at him with wonder. You fight for me, but why? The human turned his gaze to the stars. Maybe because someone should. The ship entered orbit, leaving the poisoned world behind. The girl pressed her hand against the window, watching the planet shrink. For the first time, she realized she was far from the cage, far from the whip, far from the screams of the market. But freedom was still strange. It felt heavy, almost unreal. And deep inside, she wondered, was she truly free, or was this only another kind of chain? The human noticed her silence. He walked over and unlocked the chains around her wrists. The metal clattered to the floor. Her arms shook, the skin beneath red and raw. She stared at her hands, no longer bound. Her eyes filled with tears she did not understand. She whispered, Why give me freedom? The human answered simply, Because it belongs to you, not to them. The girl said nothing, but inside something changed. A small light flickered in her heart. It was not trust yet, not hope, but it was the beginning. The human turned back to the controls. We can't stay in this system. They'll hunt us, he said. We'll need to move fast and stay hidden. He looked at her again. You'll have to decide. Do you want to come with me, or do you want me to leave you on the next safe world? The question shocked her. No one had ever asked what she wanted. Her life had always been chosen for her. She lowered her head, unsure, but the idea of being left alone filled her with fear. She whispered, almost too soft to hear, I will stay. The human nodded. Then we run together. The stars stretched into lines as the ship jumped to hyperspace. The girl held her breath. The galaxy had opened before her. Danger waited, but also something else. A bond, a path, maybe even a destiny. And for the first time, she wanted to see where it would lead. The ship drifted quietly in hyperspace. Stars stretched into silver rivers beyond the window. Inside, the alien girl sat in silence, her arms free but her heart still chained. The human moved around the cabin, fixing panels, checking supplies, his movements calm and steady. The sound of tools clicking and engines humming filled the silence between them. The girl kept her distance. She did not trust him, could not trust him. Humans were strangers to her, and kindness was something she had never known. Every glance at him made her wonder. Why save me? Why risk his life? What did he truly want? Her mind told her to fear him, but her heart whispered something else, something she did not understand. The human noticed her staring. He placed a small box of food in front of her. Eat, he said simply. The smell of warm bread and fruit filled her nose. Her stomach twisted with hunger, but her hands trembled. She had learned never to touch food unless ordered, never to move without permission. The human saw her hesitation, his eyes soft. You don't need permission here, he said. His words were strange, heavy, almost unreal. Still, she reached out slowly, took the bread, and ate. Tears stung her eyes as the taste filled her mouth. It had been so long since she had eaten without fear. Hours passed. The human worked at the controls, while she sat curled near the corner. Finally, he broke the silence. What's your name? The girl looked down, unsure if she should answer. Her voice was small when she whispered, Leora. The human nodded, repeating it softly as if to remember. Leora, he said, a name worth keeping. Her chest tightened. Slavers had always called her creature or property. Hearing her name spoken with respect felt like a strange gift. She watched him quietly after that, his movement strong but tired. Scars crossed his hands, his arms, even his face. He was a man who had seen war, who had lived through battles. Yet he had chosen to save her. The thought puzzled her more than any chain. That night, when the ship grew quiet, Leora lay awake. Her mind replayed the market, the chains, the escape. She had been bought many times before, but never like this. This human had not treated her as a slave, but as a person. The idea was terrifying because it meant she could lose something even greater than chains, hope. She turned her eyes to him where he slept in the pilot's chair. His chest rose and fell calm and steady. For a moment, she wondered what kind of world had shaped him. What kind of pain had made his eyes so tired, yet still kind? The next day, the human began teaching her. He showed her how the ship's systems worked, which buttons controlled the engines, how to read the radar. At first, she was afraid to touch anything, but he encouraged her, guiding her hands. Knowledge is freedom, he said. If you understand the ship, no one can control you. His words sank deep inside her. They were different from the cruel orders she had always known. They were words of strength, of choice, of trust. As days passed, something shifted between them. She spoke more, asked questions, learned faster than she thought she could. She laughed once, soft, nervous, but real. The human glanced at her with a small smile, and for the first time, she did not look away. The bond between them grew, slow but strong, like a fire built from fragile sparks. It warmed the cold space between them, but danger was never far. One night, as the ship floated in deep space, a signal appeared on the radar. The human frowned, checking the screen. Slaver beacon, he said, his voice tense. They're hunting us still. Fear returned to Leora's chest. Her hands shook, old chains echoing in her memory. But the human placed a steady hand on her shoulder. They will not take you back, not while I live. His words were firm, like steel, and for the first time, she believed him. Leora sat in silence after he left the cockpit. Her silver eyes glistened. For years, she had been nothing, just a number, a slave, a body in chains. But now, someone had spoken to her, as if her life mattered. Her heart ached with something she could not name. It was not yet love, not yet trust, but it was the beginning of something powerful, something that could change everything. As she looked at the stars outside, she whispered to herself, "My name is Leora." The sound of her own voice felt strange but strong. For the first time, she dared to dream of a tomorrow. And though fear still lived inside her, a new strength was growing too. The bond between her and the human was no longer just survival. It was becoming destiny. The ship floated in the quiet of deep space. Engines hummed low, and the stars stretched endlessly across the black sky. Leora sat near the window, her silver eyes lost in the endless night. For days she had spoken little, though the human had given her food, water, and freedom from chains. Her silence was heavy, filled with memories too dark to share. The human watched her. He could see the weight she carried, heavier than any chain. One night, when the cabin was dim and the stars burned cold outside, he finally asked, "Why were they so eager to keep you? Why was the auctioneer so proud to call you rare?" His voice was calm, but firm. He wanted answers, not out of greed, but because the danger around them grew with each passing hour. Leora's lips trembled. For a long time, she said nothing. Her hands twisted together as if still bound. Then she whispered, "Because I am the last." The human frowned. The last of what? Her eyes filled with tears that did not fall. "The last of my people," she said, her voice breaking. Her words hung in the air like a shadow. The human leaned forward, listening. Leora's voice grew steadier as she continued. "Long ago, my people lived on a world of light. We were healers, builders, dreamers. Our minds touched the stars." Her silver eyes glowed faintly. "We had gifts, not weapons, not armies, but knowledge deep and old, and power that came from within." She placed her hand against her chest, over her heart. "They feared us, so they destroyed us." The human's eyes narrowed. "Who destroyed you?" Her gaze darkened. "The Empire, the ones who rule with iron and fire. They feared our gifts, so they burned our cities, poisoned our skies, hunted us until none remained." Her voice shook as she said the words. "And when my mother tried to save me, she hid me among the stars. But the hunters found us, they killed her, and I was taken in chains." The human sat back in silence. Her truth was heavier than he had expected. She was not only a slave, not only a survivor, she was the last flame of an extinguished world, a girl carrying the weight of an entire race. Leora wiped her eyes. "They called me rare because of my blood. My blood carries the memory of my people, our knowledge, our gifts. If the Empire takes me, they will use it for war, for power. They will twist it into something dark." Her voice broke again. "I cannot let them have me, but I cannot fight them alone." The human leaned forward, his voice steady. "Listen to me. You are not alone now. Not anymore." His words cut through the fear like a blade. But Leora shook her head. "You don't understand. Anyone who stands with me dies. It has always been that way." Her voice was soft, almost pleading. "You should leave me before they find you, before they kill you too." The human's eyes burned with quiet fire. "I've buried enough friends, enough family. I've seen chains, wars, and empires. I don't care what they want from you. I won't leave you to them." His hand rested on the console, firm and certain. "You may be the last of your people, but you're not alone anymore." Leora stared at him. Her heart pounded, torn between fear and something new. Trust, hope, maybe even belief. She whispered, "Why? Why risk everything for me?" The human looked into her eyes. "Because someone has to, because it matters, because you matter." For the first time in years, She felt the chains around her soul loosen. Not the iron chains, they were already gone, but the invisible ones, the chains of despair. She touched her chest, her heart racing. Her people were gone. Her world was ash. But maybe, just maybe, her future was not lost. The ship's radar beeped suddenly, breaking the moment. The human turned to the screen, his face tense. A red signal flashed, an incoming transmission. He pressed a button. The voice of a slaver captain hissed through the speakers. "You have something that belongs to us. The girl. Hand her over. We burn you from the sky." Leora's blood went cold. Her past was catching up with her faster than she could run. The human looked at her, his jaw set, his eyes hard. He spoke into the transmitter. "She doesn't belong to you." "Not anymore." The voice on the other end laughed, cruel and sharp. "Then you will die with her." The signal cut, alarms flashed, and the radar showed ships closing in. The human gripped the controls, ready for battle. Leora clutched the seat, her heart pounding. For the first time, she did not feel like prey. She felt like a spark ready to ignite. And as the hunters closed in, she whispered to herself, "This time, I will not be taken." The silence of space shattered. Red lights flared across the cockpit. Alarms screamed in sharp tones. The radar screen filled with signals, slaver ships, fast and hungry, closing in from every side. Their engines burned like angry stars, their weapons already locked. The human's hands moved quickly across the controls. "Strap in," he ordered, his voice steady but sharp. Leora obeyed, her heart pounding, her silver eyes wide with fear. The chains were gone from her body, but now the galaxy itself felt like a cage. Every star outside seemed to hold enemies waiting to drag her back. The first blast struck. The ship shook violently, sparks flying from the panels. Leora screamed and gripped the seat. The human gritted his teeth, steering hard to the left. "Hold on," he shouted. Lasers streaked across the darkness, fire chasing them like arrows of light. The human ship rolled, spawn dived. Hunter ships stayed close, like wolves circling prey. Another blast hit the wing. Alarms blared louder. Metal groaned under the pressure, the cabin filled with smoke. Leora coughed, tears stinging her eyes. "We can't escape," she cried. The human's voice cut through the chaos. "We don't escape, we fight." He fired the cannons. Bright streams of energy ripped through the void. One slaver ship exploded, a ball of fire blooming in the black sky. But two more closed in, their guns flashing. The ship rattled again, the floor shaking beneath their feet. Leora felt her fear twisting into something new. Her blood raced, her mind burned. She remembered her mother's voice, the last words before the chains. "You have a gift. One day you must use it, not to destroy, but to survive." Her chest ached, and suddenly she felt heat in her hands. A light pulsed faintly under her skin, silver and alive. Another blast rocked the ship. The human cursed, pressing buttons, rerouting power. "We're losing shields," he said. Then he saw her hands glowing. His eyes widened. "What are you doing?" Leora shook her head, tears streaming. "I don't know," she whispered, "but I can feel it." The ship shook again, and instinct took over. Leora pressed her glowing hands against the wall. A surge of energy spread through the ship like a heartbeat. The alarms dimmed, the shield's strength climbed. The human blinked in shock. "You boosted the shields." Leora gasped, her body trembling. "I don't understand. It just happened." The hunters fired again, but this time the blast scattered against the ship's shield. The humans seized the moment, spinning the ship and firing back. Two slaver ships exploded, flaming wrecks falling into the endless night. Leora collapsed against the chair, her body weak. Her chest heaved with every breath. The human steadied her, his voice low but filled with fire. "You saved us." But the danger was not over. The largest slaver ship appeared, a massive vessel with spiked armor and dozens of cannons. Its engines roared like thunder, blocking the stars behind it. A voice echoed through the radio, cold and cruel. You cannot run. You cannot hide. Hand her over or die. The human looked at Leora. She was pale, trembling, but her eyes burned with something new. Not fear, not despair, but defiance. She shook her head. I will not go back, she whispered. Her voice was soft, but unbreakable. The human nodded, his jaw set. Then we make our stand. The battle began. The giant ship fired volleys of fire. The smaller hunters swarmed like insects. The human ship dodged and twisted, but the storm of fire was endless. Metal tore, sparks flew, alarms screamed. Every second felt like the last. But inside the chaos, Leora closed her eyes. She felt the pulse again, the light inside her blood. She reached for it, not with her hands, but with her heart. The glow spread through her body. Her silver eyes lit like burning stars. The ship's systems surged to life, stronger than before. The engines roared with power, the shields glowed bright. The human felt the controls respond, as if alive. He looked at her in awe. You're part of the ship now. With her strength guiding them, the human aimed at the giant slaver vessel. He fired all cannons at once. The blasts ripped through the enemy's hull, fire consuming its core. The massive ship exploded, flames tearing across the void. The hunters scattered, fleeing into the stars. The battle was over. Silence returned. The human leaned back in his seat, breathing hard. Smoke filled the cabin. The smell of fire and metal hung in the air. Leora collapsed forward, her body drained. The human caught her, holding her steady. Her eyes fluttered open, weak but alive. I'm not afraid anymore, she whispered. The human looked at her, his voice steady. Good, because this is only the beginning. And outside, among the shattered wreckage of slaver ships, the stars seemed brighter. For the first time, Leora felt not like prey, but like someone with power. And though her body shook, her spirit had awakened. The bond between her and the human was no longer just survival. It was a promise forged in fire, a promise that would change everything. The battlefield drifted silent behind them. Broken ships floated like ghosts, fires slowly dying among the stars. The human ship was damaged, its hull scarred, engines rattling with every breath of power. But it was still flying, still alive, just like them. Leora lay against the chair, her body weak, her silver eyes dim but steady. She had given too much, poured her energy into the ship. Her veins still glowed faintly, silver light pulsing under her skin. The human sat beside her, one hand on the controls, the other steadying her shoulder. You saved us again, he said, his voice quiet. But Leora shook her head slowly. No, we saved each other. The words lingered between them. It was no longer about rescuer and rescued, no longer about master and slave. There was something else now, something more, a bond forged in fire and trust. For days, they drifted through the void, hiding from hunters, repairing what they could. The human worked with tired hands, patching panels, sealing broken wires. Leora watched him, sometimes helping with what little strength she had. She learned to hold tools, to follow instructions, to listen and act. And each time he guided her, he did not command like slavers. He taught, he trusted, he believed. It changed something deep inside her. At night, when the stars filled the cabin with cold silver light, they talked. Leora spoke of her people, of her mother's songs, of the ruins of her world. Her voice trembled, but the human never looked away, never judged. In return, he told her pieces of his own story. A war he had fought, a family he had lost, scars he carried that would never fade. Pain met pain, choro met choro. But in sharing, the weight grew lighter. Two broken lives weaving into something whole. One evening, the human placed a small object in her hand. It was a charm, a piece of metal shaped like a star, old and scratched. It belonged to my sister, he said softly. She used to say it was a symbol of hope when the night feels too dark. Leora held it tight, her chest aching. No one had ever given her a gift before, not once in all her years. She whispered, Why give this to me? The human looked at her with steady eyes. Because you remind me what hope feels like. Her breath caught. The bond between them had become something beyond words. Not romance yet, not fully, but something powerful, something rare, something unbreakable. But the galaxy was not silent. One night, a coded transmission reached their ship. A message, faint but strong enough to pierce the dark. The human read it, his jaw tightening. "They know where we are," he said. "The Empire is coming." Leora's heart froze. The Empire, the ones who had destroyed her people, the ones who had hunted her since childhood. Her body trembled, her fear threatening to drown her. But then she remembered the bond, remembered his words. "You matter." She took a deep breath, her silver eyes glowing faintly. "Then we don't run," she whispered. The human looked at her, surprised. Her voice was no longer weak, no longer a slave's whisper. It was steady, alive, burning with strength. "You're not the same girl I found in chains," he said. Leora shook her head. "No, I'm not. You broke the chains, and now I will never wear them again." Her words filled the cabin with fire. The human gave a small smile, proud and fierce. "Then, whatever comes, we face it together." That night, Leora dreamed. She saw her people, her world, her mother's face. She saw flames, chains, and shadows. But she also saw the human beside her, and she realized something. Her gift, her power was not just survival. It was connection, it was life, it was the strength to bind hearts together. Her people had been healers, builders, dreamers. And though she was the last, she carried all of them inside her. And now, through the bond with him, she carried more than memory. She carried a future. When she woke, the human was already at the controls, preparing the ship. She stood beside him, her steps steady, her eyes bright. He glanced at her, then nodded. Without words, he knew she was ready. As the stars stretched before them, they were no longer just two souls escaping chains. They were partners, bound not by blood or race, but by choice. And in the silence of space, as danger closed in again, the truth became clear. The bond between a human and an alien girl had become more than survival. It had become strength. It had become hope. It had become destiny. The stars stretched across the void like rivers of fire. The human ship moved quietly, engines low, drifting through the endless dark. But silence was not safety, not anymore. Both of them knew the calm was only a mask, hiding the storm to come. Leora stood near the window, her silver eyes glowing faintly. She could feel it in her chest, like a weight pressing down. The Empire was close, closer than ever. And this time, they would not send slavers or hunters. They would come themselves with ships and soldiers, to claim her, to erase the last memory of her people forever. The human sat at the controls, his jaw tight. He had fought wars before, seen battles that broke whole worlds. But this felt different, heavier, because now he was not fighting for a cause or for soldiers. He was fighting for her. The radar flashed red. Dozens of signals appeared at once, surrounding them like a net. The human cursed under his breath. "They found us." Leora's hands tightened on the window frame. Her voice was low but steady. "Then this is where we stand." The first Imperial ship came into view. A massive vessel of black steel, spiked with weapons, engines roaring like thunder. Behind it, more ships spread out, a fleet swallowing the stars. The human ship was small, broken, barely alive. But still it turned to face them. Still it stood in the dark, defiant. A voice echoed across the comms, cold and sharp. "This is the Empire. Surrender the girl, or be destroyed." Leora's heart pounded. She had heard voices like this before, voices that ordered death. Her body trembled, but she stepped forward. "No," she whispered. Her voice grew louder, stronger. "I will never go back." The human looked at her, pride burning in his eyes. "Then we fight," he said. His hands moved quickly, powering the weapons, rerouting what little energy the ship had left. But he knew the truth. One ship against a fleet was suicide. Even with her gifts, even with her fire, they could not win here. And yet, sometimes the fight itself mattered more than victory. Sometimes standing against the impossible was the only choice. The battle began. Imperial ships fired volleys of lasers. The void lit up with fire and death. The human ship spun, dodged, returned fire. Explosions shook the dark. Wreckage tumbled through the stars. Leora closed her eyes, reaching deep into the light inside her blood. The ships surged again, shields glowing brighter than before. She and the human moved as one. Pilot and power, warrior and flame. Together they struck back. One Imperial ship exploded, then another. But for each that fell, two more appeared. The fleet closed in tighter. The human's arms ached, his vision blurred. Still he fought, still he refused to fall. Beside him, Leora trembled, her body weak but her spirit unbroken. She whispered through the chaos, "You're not alone. I'm here." Her words gave him strength. More than shields, more than weapons. It was the bond itself that kept them alive. Then, the largest ship appeared. A dreadnought, a monster of steel and fire. Its shadow swallowed the stars. Its weapons glowed, ready to burn worlds to ash. And through the comms, a new voice spoke. Deep, cruel, filled with power. "You are brave, little human, but you fight for nothing. She belongs to us." Leora's heart froze. She knew that voice. It was the one who had given the order to destroy her people. The one who had hunted her across the stars. The one who had turned her life into chains. Her silver eyes blazed. "No," she whispered. Her voice shook, then grew like thunder. "I do not belong to you. I never will." The light inside her exploded. Her body glowed like fire, her veins shining with silver power. The ship trembled as her energy flowed into it. Panels lit up, systems roared to life. The human stared in awe. "You're becoming something more." The dreadnought fired. A beam of pure energy cut through the void. The human ship should have been destroyed. But Leora raised her hands. The light inside her surged outward, forming a shield of pure silver fire. The beams struck it, shattered, and scattered across the stars. For a moment, silence returned, but the power drained her. Her body shook, her knees gave out. The human caught her before she fell. Her voice was faint but fierce. "They will never take me." The human held her close, his eyes hard. "Then they'll have to go through me." The dreadnought moved closer. The comms hissed with cruel laughter. "This is not over, human. This is only the beginning." Then the fleet vanished into the dark, pulling back. But not in defeat, in patience, because the Empire had seen her power, and now they wanted it more than ever. The human looked down at Leora, unconscious but alive. He carried her gently to the chair, brushing the hair from her face. His voice was quiet, almost a vow. "They will never have you, not while I breathe." Outside, the stars burned brighter. The galaxy had changed. A human and an alien girl had stood against an empire, and though the war was only beginning, their bond had become something no enemy could break. Not fear, not chains, not even death. And as the ship drifted into the endless night, her silver light still glowed faintly in the dark, a promise of battles to come, and a future that could change everything.